If you're watching this, they already know I'm talking. But people deserve to know what's happening in our national forests and why entire sections are marked restricted access with no explanation. This happened between 2008 and 2012. The witness, we'll call him Jay, was a U.S. Marshal working in the Pacific Northwest. He had top-level security clearance, standard assignments, prisoner transport, witness protection coordination, fugitive tracking. Everything was normal federal law enforcement work, until he got reassigned to what his supervisor called Special Wildlife Incident Response. He thought it was a joke at first. They told him it was temporary, 6 months maximum. He stayed for 4 years. The first briefing was strange. No paperwork, no official memos, just a verbal rundown in a windowless room at a Forest Service building in Oregon. They showed him photos. Deer carcasses, but wrong. Snapped spines, rib cages crushed inward, no predator marks, no scavenging, just pressure. One photo showed a full-grown elk hanging 15 feet up in a tree. No explanation for how it got there. The officer giving the briefing said, "Your job is to respond when we get calls like this. You document, you remove evidence if needed, and you do not file written reports." Jay asked what they were tracking. The officer looked at him and said, "We don't use names." Over the next few months, Jay responded to dozens of incidents, always in remote areas, always federal land, national forests, Bureau of Land Management territory, military ranges. The calls came through a specific channel, not 911, not standard dispatch, a coded frequency, usually at night. He'd get coordinates, drive out with 1 or 2 other marshals or rangers, no local police, no media. The patterns were consistent. Livestock mutilations, surgical precision, no blood on scene, tracks that didn't match any known animal, 3-toed prints, 16 inches long, stride length over 6 feet. Hikers reporting something tall moving between trees at speeds that didn't make sense. Tree structures, massive logs stacked or woven in ways that required immense strength, and the sounds. People called them in constantly, described as screaming, howling, wood knocking. But the recordings, when they had them, didn't match wolves, coyotes, or elk. They sounded almost vocal. Jay said the team had a running joke: if it's in the database, we don't talk about it. There was a database, federal, restricted access, incident reports going back to the 1970s, locations, descriptions, photos, no conclusions, no species identified, just unresolved. Jay admits he didn't believe it at first. He figured it was misidentified bears, hoaxers, locals trying to scare tourists. But after the third torn-apart campsite, tents shredded from the outside in, gear scattered hundreds of feet but nothing stolen, he started asking questions. Why isn't this public? His supervisor said, because if people knew how often this happens, they'd stop coming to the parks. Tourism would collapse, local economies would fail. Jay pushed back, but if there's something dangerous, we manage it. That's why you're here. He didn't feel good about that answer, but he kept going. The incident that changed everything happened in autumn 2010, Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. A bow hunter called in a missing person report through a ranger station. His partner had gone ahead on a trail at dawn, never came back. Jay and 2 others hiked in. They found the man, alive, sitting against a tree, uninjured, staring straight ahead. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't move. Medics later said he was in shock, but no physical trauma, no head injury, no signs of assault or animal attack. When they finally got him talking 2 days later, he said the same thing over and over. It walked on 2 legs. It was 8 feet tall. It watched me for 20 minutes and didn't move. I couldn't run. I just froze. Jay said they found tracks nearby, bipedal, massive, leading into dense forest and then just stopping, like whatever made them climbed straight up. The hunter was placed on a non-disclosure consultation, which Jay later learned meant he was visited by federal officers and strongly encouraged not to discuss what happened. No official report was filed. The incident was logged internally as human encounter, no intervention required. After that, Jay started noticing the coordination. There were other units doing the same work, different regions, same structure. He met a guy from a similar team in Washington State, another in Northern California. They all had the same instructions: respond quietly, remove evidence, discourage witnesses from going public. But here's the thing, the incidents were increasing. 2008, maybe 20 dozen reports in his area. 2011, over 70. They weren't random either. Clusters around certain valleys, specific watersheds, areas with limited road access and low population density. Jay said it felt like they were monitoring migration patterns. He asked his supervisor directly, "Are we tracking an endangered species?" The supervisor said, "We're managing a persistent phenomenon. That's all you need to know." That's when Jay realized they didn't know what it was either. They were just containing the situation. Jay's last assignment was in early 2012, Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, Washington. A logger reported finding something impossible. A deer, full-grown buck, twisted around a tree trunk 10 feet off the ground, not hung, not placed, twisted, like the tree had grown through it. But it was fresh, less than 24 hours old. Jay and his team hiked in. The site was real. He took photos which were immediately confiscated. But while they were documenting, the forest went silent. No birds, no insects, no wind, just nothing. One of the rangers with him whispered, "We need to leave, now." Jay said he felt it too, a pressure, like something was watching from just outside his peripheral vision. They packed up fast. As they were heading back to the vehicles, Jay glanced over his shoulder. There was a figure standing between two trees about 60 yards back, tall, dark, motionless. He couldn't make out details, the light was fading, but the shape was wrong. Too broad at the shoulders, arms too long. He stopped walking. His partner grabbed his arm and said, "Don't look at it, just keep moving." They got to the trucks. He never went back. 2 weeks later, he requested a transfer. They approved it immediately. No exit interview, no questions. He was just reassigned, back to standard Marshal duties, like those 4 years never happened. Jay left federal service in 2014. He won't say exactly why he's speaking now, but he's not the only one. There are others, rangers, wildlife officers, even some FBI agents who've worked special desk assignments involving unexplained encounters on federal land. Most won't go on record, but the pattern is consistent. There's an internal system for handling reports that don't fit conventional explanations. It's not an official CRYPTID task force, it's just procedural management, documentation without disclosure, evidence collection without investigation, and the standing order remains the same: do not create public panic. Jay says he doesn't know what they were tracking. He has theories, everyone on the team did. Undiscovered primate species, relict hominid populations, something else entirely. But what bothers him most isn't what it is, it's that I can't verify every detail of Jay's account, but the framework he describes, it matches documented policies. The U.S. Forest Service does have incident classification systems that aren't public. The Department of Interior does restrict information on certain wildlife encounters under exemptions to FOIA requests. And there are multi-agency task groups that operate without public oversight. Whether they're tracking an unknown species, managing public perception, or something in between, that's the question we still don't have an answer to. But the infrastructure is real, and it's still